Good afternoon. I recently read an article by Ilana Vagianos published in the Huffington Post on February 13th of 2015. I was shocked by what she had to say. The death toll for American troops in Iraq and Afghanistan between 2001 and 2012 added up to 6,488 lives lost. And during that very same time period, 11,766 American women were murdered by current or former male partners here at home. If you really think about that, we lost nearly twice as many women to domestic violence as we did soldiers fighting in a war. This afternoon, I would like to shed some light on the very real killer that is domestic violence. And hopefully by the end, I will have illuminated an amazing organization which helps to combat it. Maybe you all are wondering, why is this relevant to me? Why is domestic violence my issue? In order to illustrate the importance of this issue, I would like to share some statistics which I found on domesticviolencestatistics.org, a nonprofit organization which works to end domestic violence through awareness. Every 9 seconds, a woman is beaten or assaulted in the United States. At least 1 in 3 women around the world has been beaten, coerced into sex, or otherwise abused in her lifetime. Domestic violence is the leading cause of injury to women. There are studies which suggest up to 10 million children have witnessed some form of domestic violence. And the annual cost of intimate partner violence in the United States alone exceeds $5.8 billion. Just think if we were to cut down on some of these numbers. Many women could be saved from serious injury or death. Those little children could be spared the psychological trauma of watching their mother get beaten. And that $5.8 billion that we spend patching up our women could be redistributed into society in many beneficial ways. Some ways I'm sure could benefit you. Now I understand that as normal everyday people, it may seem really daunting to look at something like domestic violence. But by supporting Courage Connection here in Champaign, we can help change the lives of many women and children. Courage Connection is a nonprofit organization which works to end domestic violence through providing homes and supportive services, including the basic necessities such as food, water, and clothing, for not only the victims of domestic violence, but also for the homeless of Champaign-Urbana. And in a post on June 5th of 2014 by the City of Champaign, Courage Connection was highlighted as the only agency in the area which offers a full spectrum of services for victims of domestic violence. In order to illustrate how we will be making this difference through Courage Connection, I will first be laying out a brief history of how they came to be. I will then be showing you some of the different services which they provide to help these people. And lastly, I will be explaining the many different ways in which each and every one of us can enact this positive difference through Courage Connection. So let's start where it all began. Courage Connection started off as 2 organizations coming together as one. According to their webpage, courageconnection.org, the 2 organizations are as follows. A Woman's Place was the first battered women's shelter to be opened in Illinois circa 1971 and operated by a women's fund here in Urbana. The second organization is the Center for Women in Transition, which was a homeless shelter that also has a resale store to fund its operations. In 2010, these two organizations came together to form a powerful coalition, which works to provide anything from emergency shelter to a stable lifestyle once again for its clientele. Now that we've seen how Courage Connection came to be, let's take a look at some of the different services that they provide. One of the biggest ways that Courage Connection helps these women and children is by providing emergency shelter. In psychology class, I learned that safe transitional housing is extremely important because in the 3 weeks after a woman has left her abuser, she is at the most risk to be stalked down and murdered because he no longer has anything to lose. Another big service that Courage Connection provides for these people is helping the women find jobs. This is so important because one of the most common reasons that women return to their abusers is out of financial dependency. So by helping these women get back into the workforce, not only are we helping society, but we are really cutting down on the chances that they are going to go back and get abused once again. The last service that I'm going to talk about today, though there are many more, is that Courage Connection has been highly successful in helping their clients obtain court orders against their abusers. So now that we have talked about some of the different services that Courage Connection provides, let's take a look at the many different ways in which each and every one of us can become involved. One of the biggest ways that you can help is by volunteering. There are a lot of different volunteer opportunities that you can do. One of which is working as a daycare worker for those women who are going out and doing job interviews and just working to get back into the lifestyle. Another way is by becoming a member of their resale store, which is in Lincoln Square Mall. And the last way that I'm going to talk about is that you can help these women on their job applications, and you can help them get ready for interviews and do all sorts of things like that. Another way that you can support Courage Connection is by going to an event sponsored by their partners in the community. I recently attended a Power and Soul fashion show where all of the proceeds went to Courage Connection. I left this event feeling very uplifted because I knew I'd been a part of something that was much bigger than myself. The last way that I'll talk about today is that if you're short on time, you can do direct donations to their website, courageconnection.org. A small amount, like $5, could help feed a little boy who has had his life turned upside down. I encourage all of you to go to courageconnection.org. You can fill out a volunteer application, and you can check out all the different opportunities to see if anything sparks your interest. By supporting Courage Connection, we are not only taking a stand to domestic violence on a large scale, we are also supporting our mothers, daughters, sisters. In order to take a stand to domestic violence and help these women and children who have been brutalized, we need to support Courage Connection. I encourage you to do whatever you can for this organization, even if it is just donating an hour of your day or $5 for that little boy who has seen too much. By doing this, you will be enacting a positive change and hopefully reducing the death toll so those troops who are fighting overseas don't come home to even more death. Thank you.